I just finished watching series 28 of Silent Witness, and there is so much good stuff happening there. So let's see if you think it's worth your time, and I'll let you know what I really thought about the entire thing, the entire season itself. So here's my big way of interpreting this whole season. It is a season about systems. It is a season about systems breaking down, and it's almost like a mirror to the world about these big things that ultimately impact really everyone. And you see how, because of the personal impacts, what the consequences are in very personal, intimate terms. Now, it's a very serious thing to say, but this season, it ended in such a beautiful way. It ended in such a personal way. I will get back to that in a second. But it was big. Like, I feel like this was a very ambitious season, and it covered things like the breakdown in elderly care. Like, how do we even engage with and help elderly people? Currently, it's a very personal issue to me. So it started the whole season off, and maybe I was a little extra hooked because of that, or triggered, depending on how you want to look at it. It touched on things like how the system fails people with PTSD who serve their country, how the system politically fails people who are impoverished and are moved into places that are not fit for them. And then what happens? How does the system fail people in terms of regulation, right? In terms of like what large companies are able to get away with and the repercussions of that. Like, this season did not shy away from any of those things. So I would say that's the biggest strength of the season, that these things stood out as clearly as they did. And in terms of just the excellent storyline, I mean, these writers, these producers, they are so dialed in, and it's like they had like a new fire under them for the richness of how these big system stories played out in really beautiful personal stories and personal crimes, and not predictable, right? As always, real twists and turns and things the science was able to bring forward. There's a reason they're doing all those autopsies at the end of the day and all that forensic scene of crime investigation. And how satisfying it is when we are able, to some degree, to, I'm going to say, to feel like you look at a world that feels too big sometimes, where you're like, how does anything get done anymore? Or how are people not meant to suffer when things are so complicated? In the US, just to go there directly, right? Healthcare feels like a failing system. Why is it so expensive? Why is insurance so expensive? We really can't figure out this universal situation. That's a separate issue. But these systems end up really impacting regular people. And sometimes not until like push comes to shove. But when push comes to shove, oh my God. I actually feel like there were 5 storylines, right, over 10 episodes. And I feel like every single storyline triggered me and pushed my buttons in very specific ways. Never triggered like, oh my God, I can't watch this. It wasn't that type of thing, but it was so much like, God, this went deep. It went deep fast. And the personal story was able to tell that really well. So double kudos to the writers of this season and the people who produced those stories. Absolutely exceptional. We even had one, by the way, that much of which took place on a plane. I normally don't love closed unit stories. The whole season was not like that. But these super closed unit stories were like, oh my God, we're going to spend 2 hours on a plane. We didn't, but it felt like that at times. And you see why that even happened in the first place. Absolutely amazing. That to me is what the science of shows like these forensic pathology shows are able to show you, how magical what is here in the world and how much power we have if we choose to wield it responsibly, appropriately, and effectively. So, what happened with the characters this season? Beautiful ending. Like, such a restrained, elegant, gorgeous way to end the season. No spoilers. The only spoiler I will give you going into it is that we have had yet another turnover of the secondary cast, right? We still have Dr. Nikki Alexander, hello, Emilia Clarke, and David Caves, hey, Jack, as the two main characters. But this season, Jack's assistant was replaced by the absolutely charming and captivating Kit. Don't know your name as an actor, but Kit was absolutely fantastic. She just captured all the enthusiasm of someone who would get to work with a Jack and also get to identify patterns and solve things. Like, she seemed really thrilled to be doing the work she was doing. And that's the sense I would have if in a different lifetime I had that job. And I probably would have had that job over an actual forensic pathologist. But I don't think that's something I want to do these days. But I could have in a different lifetime. We also, Nikki Alexander is so good. She apparently has some assistants who clean things up, but she never has help. So that's its own thing. Emilia Clarke, you keep running with it. I'm not sure what that is. Amelia Fox. Oh my God, Emilia Clarke. I think I've been saying Emilia Clarke for days. Hi, Amelia Fox. But we do have someone else who's running the Lyell Center, and this woman comes in the form of Harriet. Now, Harriet is a really quirky character, and I don't remember the name of this actress. I've seen her in a few things here and there, but I want to give a major shout out to the quirkiness of the writing for her and the storyline and how it unfolded, but how soulful and heart-centered this woman was. It was like back in the day when Leo was deciding if he was going to step up into like the administrative bureaucratic role of running the Lyell Center. And I think he did, but this was like a whole different level. The people who we've had running the Lyell Center in the recent past, they just felt like they were coming through. We had someone better in terms of Jack's assistant than I think the people running the Lyell Center. Jack's assistants in the past have also had turnover. Albie, who was like the very conservative Jewish person, a very adorable character. But it's really nice to see Kit. We also don't have Jack's niece in this season at all, who was our sign language character, which was, I don't know, fascinating, right? Like, there's so many interesting things happening around this place. So, is this season for the traditional silent witness lovers? I'm going to say 100%. It got really extreme in the way that silent witness has always gotten extreme in the past. It told great stories, but I think went even deeper because the systems that those stories chose to highlight and emphasize were so remarkably clear, but I also never felt like I was getting a hammer hit over the head, which is one of the storylines you'll see right at the start in that season. But it was subtle, but so personal. And then you guys, producers, like Amelia Fox, ending that series and season on that note was kind of like the payoff we've all been waiting for so long. So I think that we're just waiting for more goodness. This series, for the storylines alone and how it helps reflect where we are in society currently, not to mention the intermingling of the personal side of the stories, is a double thumbs up for sure. You can't go wrong with this series. It was crisp, it was tight, it was everything we loved. The personal dynamics are a little different. That's okay. Like, they still totally delivered. I watch this currently in the US on BritBox. It's been pretty consistent there. In the UK, of course, this is still a BBC production. If you're elsewhere in the world, find it locally. But what do you think? Did you guys enjoy this season quite as much as I did?